How are you? It's Danny, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's nice to meet you. Here,
Nice
let
to
me
meet
take
you too.
my 15,000 screens. There we go. Okay, good. Ah, how are you?
I'm doing good today. It's
Yeah.
my off day, so I'm enjoying it so far.
Oh, so you're working on your off day.
That's always a story, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for even thinking of me. You
I know,
dredged
I
up some
mean,
beautiful memories.
yeah, I mean, the show to me is just, it's one of those things that I loved when it came on. It used to be, me and my mom used to watch it together. So it has like that little special place to me. And then I've kept up with a whole bunch of your guys' careers. And
I
then
love
during
that.
COVID, I decided to start like posting like little clips. And then
Yeah.
the response from not only just other viewers, but like from the contestants, you guys has been amazing. And I'm like, oh, let me reach out to them because as a fan of the show, I would want to know like how was the experience on the show? What did you guys do afterwards? What was like your journey, you know? So
Hmm.
I slowly started reaching out, just like I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And everyone's been super excited and I've been having a blast doing this.
Oh, it shows. I love it. I love it.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to even do this with me.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. This is a labor, not even a labor of love. This is fun because again, this is bringing up memories and things I haven't thought about in ages. So thank you.
Of course, of course. All right, so let's just get started with this. So
Okay.
everyone, welcome Crystal Petit to the show.
Hi. I love how you say petite.
And if you could give us a quick history on how you became interested in music and entertainment, like how did that start for you?
Okay, so I come from a family that is a lover of music and mostly gospel music. And so I grew up singing in the church, and I was in a choir from the time I was 4 and loved it. And then I'm such an 80s girl. I was born in 78, and I thought I was much older before I was. I was hanging out with my aunties and stuff, trying to sing all the Janet Jackson songs, sing everything with them, but I was like 6, 7 years old. And my auntie, who's the baby, there are 5 girls and 5 boys on my maternal grandmother's side. She was signed to a label, and I just looked up to her. There's like a 10-year age gap. She was more like a big sister than she was an auntie. And I just looked up to her and I was like, I want to do that as well. And as I got older, I tried more and more things, dance, things outside of the church as well, contemporary music. Just, when we had Glee Club, I would go and make up harmonies that weren't there. I was testing stuff out. I had a talent show that I put together when I was 10. And I used to charge my friends like a penny, I think they reminded me, to hear me sing these songs back in the day. I was trying to
Hey,
hustle on the
you gotta
playground.
make that coin.
Exactly. So I just developed this love for music. And then I told my dad and my mom that I wanted to be an artist, an artiste. And they were like, no. They said, listen, you get your college degree, you do well in school, and you can do whatever you want to do. So I applied to several different places, NYU, UCLA, and I ended up choosing Spelman, which was right in Atlanta, Georgia. And I didn't think I was going to go so close to home because I wanted to fly away and get far away and do what I wanted, but I loved it. But at Spelman, I actually chose more of a finance path, finance and French, because I was very envious of my friends that were doing theater and doing music and just different performing arts, but I was watching from the side. And I had my dad's voice in my head, like, just do well in finance. And, he was probably hoping I would change my mind, but I never changed my mind. Fast forward to me getting several internships at different Wall Street companies like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, which was very far from the creative side that I
Yeah.
wanted to, call upon. And during my lunch breaks, I would walk to MTV, and that's when you could still see like the shows through
Oh,
the
yes, yes,
wall.
yes.
This is way back when, honey. So I'd be eating my sandwich in my little, 2, 3 piece suit. It was hot, And I would just be just dying to be in that domain. So I finished Spelman. I did very well. I loved my Spelman experience. In the meantime, I had studied in Martinique. I had studied in Dijon, France, where later on I met my then husband. And but I had this calling. And so finished school, didn't know what I wanted to do, applied to Harvard Law and got in with a scholarship, a full scholarship. Got an offer for JP Morgan and got a Fulbright to teach French. And I kind of delayed the first two, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. My cousin Stacy calls out of the blue and she says, listen, there's an audition for this thing called Pop Stars. I want you to go. I signed you up. I had no idea what she was talking about. I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, I'm sick of you always talking about music. Here's your chance. I don't know what this is like. Maybe it's like the real world or something. I don't know, but just go and see. So I went in so nonchalantly. I was like, well, I know I'm going to France or I'm going to Wall Street or I don't know what I'm going to do, but we'll just see. And I was in line with an amazing, amazing soul who is still a good friend to this day, CJ, Madam CJ, and just having a good old time. Meanwhile, girls in front and in back of us were stressing out. And I could see the line was down the street. And I was like, maybe there's something to this. So I still went in, just not even thinking about it, having a good time, laughing with CJ. And then we get into the room and the ambiance is like, woo, people are really serious. I didn't know anything about a coach that was going to be there. I didn't know any of this. Again, my cousin had signed me up, told me to go. I was like, I'm working, so I'm not going. She said, call in sick. I said, I can't do that because I was just way too honest. And I didn't know what this was. So I got in there and I was like, okay, maybe I should put my serious cap on. And so I go through the line. I choose one of the songs that you could choose to sing. And I think I sang Genie in a Bottle. Okay. And because that was one of the ones I knew the best. And then I made a couple of jokes to Travis and stuff. And we just kikied, we cracked up. And I still didn't take it 100% seriously. And I got up there, sang my song, watched the other girls. I was like, wow, there's some really heavy hitters here. This is nice. Again, I did not think anything of it. Then they give us this information sheet and they say to us, if we get a call back, it'll be within, I don't know, 2 weeks, we'll say, something like that. So fast forward to me being home and still stalling. They tell me they're going to call me and they may send a camera crew out. And I was like, okay, I don't really understand what's happening. All I knew was I was on a mission to save my dad's files because we were about to head into the year 2000. My dad thought everything was going to explode. So I
remember all that.
That's what I was thinking about. I had these floppy disks. I had like 100 and I had only gotten through like half of the stuff. And then they call and it was Travis. He said, hey, what are you doing? I was like, look, I have to finish this because my dad is going to get me if I don't copy all his files because it might blow up or something. Although I think it's crazy. He said, well, put it down because I've got some news to announce to you. But I still wasn't even 100% there because, again, there was no real precedent. Like, I didn't know what a Pop Stars show was. Yeah. So I was coming off the heels of, being in an academic environment where everything was just very, very, it was just very different than this world, And so he said, I just want to let you know that you have one of the spots from the Atlanta girls to come to LA. And I'm putting in that floppy disk and I just stalled and I was like, what? He said, no, you're in. I said, oh my gosh. And but my reaction was so soft. He said, did you hear what I said? I said, I did. But when I get really surprised, sometimes I have an opposite reaction. I don't scream, I just kind of go within myself. Mm-hmm. And so I think he may have taken it as, oh, she's not that excited. I was like, listen, I am so excited. I will be there. And so, that was how I got to the audition, all because of my cousin Stacy, who told me, you know what, you need to try for your dream because right now you're living everybody else's dream. You did very well at school. You got these job propositions. You got a full scholarship to Harvard. You need to at least try. So
we have your cousin Stacy for that, for you being on the show.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. How like it was you were in a completely different headspace in your life.
I was so far gone. I was so far gone.
So once getting to LA,
Hmm.
seeing all the talent, because
Yes.
you auditioned at Atlanta, so you were only seeing those Atlanta contestants. How was
Yes.
it seeing everybody else?
Well, it was crazy because from memory, again, this was, a fourth of a century ago. So I remember getting to the Atlanta airport. And as soon as I saw a couple of the girls that I had auditioned with, amongst all the other passengers, we were just screaming. I was like, "Oh my God, it's you!" And I remember being in the airport and watching one of the girls as she just literally changed into her whole full attire right there in front of us. And I was like, wow, maybe I should have packed differently. This is crazy. And so when we arrived, you had people that were from all walks of life. You had the fabulous girls, you had the girls who were just, they had no clue what was going on. That was me. And we're just happy to be there. It was LA. I was coming from Atlanta, and I had only visited LA and gone to Disneyland when I was younger. And then I got there and I saw just all of these different looks, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And as soon as we arrived, that's when I realized, wait a second, we're going to be filmed this entire time. Is that what's happening? Because there's a camera dude, like I'm up here laughing and talking with my girlfriends. The camera guy's like right here. Again, had never experienced it. And so then I was like, wow, I don't know if I'm supposed to be, how I'm supposed to act, or if I'm supposed to act, or if I'm supposed to say this or not say this. But in the end, I was just like, well, whatever, So it was really, it was a mix of excitement and also fear a little bit, because I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. And some of the girls were coming from an entertainment background. And so they were aware of the rigor and the coaches, the high level that we had. And I didn't know
Right?
any of that. And I did not know any of that. And so again, when I saw how serious they were, I was like, maybe I should be that serious too. They were already like warming up and stuff. And I was like, well, let me just hit it a little bit. I was just really just faking the funk a little bit. And then the first day was nice. We got to know each other. Again, I that's when I met my friend TV, who is a really, really, really close friend of mine to this day. And again, I was hanging out with CJ, met other people, met Nicole, and just had the best discussions. And that's when the ambiance was probably the best. I'd say the first couple days,
Mm-hmm.
because of course, after the first elimination, that's when people realized, oh my gosh, this is really serious. So it's kind of as if you saw the veil come off. You saw the girls get a little more rigid, a little more competitive and stuff like that. And that's when I was like, this isn't fun, and I started getting nervous after that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You mentioned the high caliber of the coaches you were working with.
Mhm.
David Foster, Roger
Yes.
Love, Travis Payne,
Yes.
Jennifer, James. What do you feel like you learned from them during your time at the workshop?
Well, I think one of the best lessons I ever learned was from David. And I don't even think he knows, because he didn't tell it to me directly. It was one of the assistants that told me. And it was at a moment where I thought I was going to get eliminated, because they said to me, David loves your voice, but he can see that you're just really, really, really shy. You're not giving what you could give, and he can feel that, and he can see that it's in there. And I'll never forget. I kept that with me here in where I am right now, which we'll get to afterwards. But I remember thinking, I love to be like the family clown and entertain and stuff. But I remember having stage fright when I was little, and I had all of these things that I wanted to share with the world, to get out to the world, but it just would not come out. And I thought that that was so incredible that he saw that despite this little bitty voice that I was giving, that there was something there. And I always took that with me. I carried that with me way after the show. And Travis, I just liked the fact that he was so light about everything. I remember there were a lot of girls that were professionally trained dancers in there. A lot of them. I was not one of them. I was a fake the funk. I'm going to learn this MTV video choreography real quick and teach it to my friends for 5 cents. Just kidding. I was always trying to hustle so I could buy some sort of something at the mall. But anyways, I was not a professionally trained dancer. So the only time, the biggest times where I was really even more shy than with the singing, which I knew I had, but I had to kind of connect with something else to get there, was the dance, because you had to really get those steps super fast. And I remembered watching girls that seemed to have like the whole thing together,
Hmm.
the look, the moves, the voice. Even if some voices weren't as trained as the others, they still had some sort of charisma, and they made you feel as if they had it together and they were really confident. But whenever we had to learn those steps, honey, I was like, oh God. And I remember just Travis just taking me saying, listen, first of all, you've got really good rhythm. Let's just go off of that,
Yeah.
And so, so that, and taking all the stuff that I knew about them, because I was learning more and more and more who had everyone. I knew the big names, but I didn't know a lot of the projects that they had worked on.
Hmm.
And putting that to the side, I just remember thinking, wow, he's relatable. He's putting me at ease. He knows that I've not been up in classes and ballet classes and in other classes like a lot of these girls, yet I am still, treated as an equal. So that was really nice. Those were the two standouts for me. Roger was funny, from what I remember. Again, these are little memories that I have here and there. And I do remember the clip where he was trying to push more out of me, and that's the thing. It was so hard for me because I was always just the sweet, nice girl. And I was like, oh, baby, no. But he was nice about it. So
And then you got the chance to perform at the Viper Room,
I
one of the
did.
final, basically the final task. How
That was
was
so.
that experience?
Oh, wow. Okay. So now, fast forward, we have all met. We have done our day out because they gave us a whole day out where we could go shopping, and we were on the bus and we were visiting LA. We've done another day where we've just gotten, to know each other. And then we went into the workshops, and then there was elimination. So now we've gone through several, eliminations. And so the ambiance was like, because now people knew that they wanted to at least get to the Viper Room, if nothing else. And so when I got there, it was, first of all, you tell yourself you're performing at a place that people would dream to perform in with this team around you. But then it became serious because you had the fittings, you had the mic check. These were things that I had not really done, not at all,
Yeah.
and it was as if you were really in those conditions of a star, if you will. So you've got the assistants running around, poking at you, putting this on you. I was like, what is happening? I don't know, versus the other girls, like Nicole, she's a great example, or even TV, because, TV comes,
Yeah.
she's royalty,
He is, yes.
but, but so they knew what to do. And I'm just like a fish out of water, like, wow, so happy to be here. And it was a great experience. I do remember it being really dark. You know how sometimes you have these small little tidbits that come back to you. I just remember it being very dark on the inside, and then all of a sudden these lights that were flashing on you. And so now you've got to go through this routine several times. So you've got like these sweat beads coming off. And so you've got the girls who are prepared, who brought their little things to, do like this to make sure that they look good on screen. But then you've got the coaches that are in condition, like, get it, and so I was like, okay, let me do it. Let me do it. So you got to do it like once or twice. And then they really, did their last take where they're going to judge you and all this other stuff. So I remember a mix of, again, excitement, but also um, fear. And by this time, there had been some girls that had a couple little catty things, amongst them. So again, I didn't take it wasn't as much fun. I had also lost some girlfriends by then, they had been eliminated and had taken it super hard. A lot of them were counting on this, especially when you're young and you have this big dream.
Hmm.
We all had different situations, different backstories, and some were really, really, really upset that they didn't make this particular cut. And so it really affected me. So by the time I got on that stage, I was carrying all that as well. Um, And then you had the things where people were like, oh, they're going to put that person with that person. So you're trying to fight against all of these ideas and these movies that are swarming around in your head, and you don't know anything. But so you have to push through all that and still give a good performance and still hope that you make the next round. But overall, it was amazing. Again, I was coming from, well, a few weeks prior, I didn't even know I was going to be standing there. So everything for me was pretty much a gift. It was a gift to meet these girls from I didn't know anybody from Oklahoma. I didn't this was, and then it was amazing. It was amazing. There was another moment where before the Viper Room, we had a meal, and then I was just listening, and I was just so happy to hear this conversation, because you had a lot of the Spanish speaking ladies that came together and that were telling, I'm from, my family's from Colombia, my family's from Chile, my family's from here. Oh, this, it was amazing. And then they switched to Spanish. I was like, this is so just incredible. We don't get this back home. It was the communities that were being formed, and I don't know, you could just see the happiness on their faces. So it was moments like that I really cherished, that I considered to be a gift. And then naturally, to this day, people either call me granny or mama or auntie. I just am just always so proud of everybody. So I was just sitting there at 21 years old, so proud of you. Oh, that was great. That was wonderful. So yeah.
Yeah, even when they showed you getting eliminated,
Yeah.
you seemed very supportive of the other girls that did get called for the top 10.
Yeah, I was so happy, because by then I forget who my roommate was, but she had been eliminated, and so I was rooming with Nicole, and we had just the most beautiful conversations the night before, just encouraging. And then I don't know, I was just so happy to be there. So when they told me I wasn't, I kind of knew it anyways. I had an intuition. But when they told me that I wasn't going to go any further, I just said to myself, and I said to the other girls, listen, do you see where we are? Do you see how far we've made it? We are going to keep in touch. This is amazing. This is an incredible life experience. And I didn't take it as a sad thing, because I knew I had accomplished something. Yeah. I didn't see it as something extremely, extremely sad. I saw it as a jumping, a point of, jump off, if you will. I knew that now, how the hell could I go to, love you, Harvard? How could I go to Harvard Law? How could I go to Wall Street after this? I had the top coaches who worked with the top artists right there working with me. I met these amazing girls. I got to live this incredible experience. I was not exactly the same person after that. So I thought that it was, all positive to me.
So that leads me to my next subject. Where did you want to go after the show? What was your plans? As far as, were you going to continue with music now?
Yeah. So by then, I was really confused, because once again, I flew home and I had my my acceptance letter from JP Morgan with a beautiful salary at 22 years old, you know what I mean? And then I had gotten into law school, and I just couldn't. I looked at both of those and I said, these are beautiful opportunities for someone else, not for me. Crystal, what can you do to at least stall? Because by then, by the time I got home, I called the father of my twins, and I said, listen, let's make music. Because I had done a year in Dijon, and I joined the school band at this business school, because I was like, listen, I really want to learn French 100%. And if I go to Paris, everybody's going to be speaking to me in English. I lived in Martinique for a second, but everything was in Creole. I loved it, but I didn't really learn French that well, there. And I said, let me go here. So I auditioned for this band. I got in, which wasn't hard. There were only two of us auditioning, and well, it wasn't that difficult. And so the father of my children was in the band, and he was the bass player. And so when I was on that plane, and when I landed, I called him. I said, listen, do you remember when we were joking around and we said, let's make music if I ever come back to France? Well, let's try. And so I knew I had this Fulbright to teach English for 6 months in France. And I said, let me use that as an opportunity because they're only requiring 12 hours a week of me. And the rest of the time, I can just sit in cafes, drink a 50-cent coffee, and write some music, and we can just try it. And so ultimately, I pushed back, everything else that I thought I was going to do. So either Wall Street or school. And 6 months, I renewed it for another 6 months. I renewed it for a year. And all that time we were making music. We were playing on the Champs-Élysées, playing for, I don't know, 20 euros at the time and a beer. And I don't even drink beer, but I was happy to play there. It was amazing. And so then we got gigs from there and we went to Thailand, we went to Estonia, we went around the world. We made an album. And the rest is history. I just never went back. My family gave up asking, because I kept saying, sorry, family. I kept saying, I'll come back in 6 months. I'll come back. But I didn't want to come back. And so it was such a radical change for everybody. My family just knew that I was going to go on and live in New York and work on Wall Street or go back to school. And here I am, being a musician and singer in France. And I said, Dad, but you told me all I had to do was get through school. And I did that. He said, I can't say anything else. You did that.
You completed you completed it.
Exactly.
Part.
Exactly.
So being in France, in Paris, you've done so much, so much. It's always fun. I was just talking to Shonda a few days ago. It's always so fun to hear the stories of projects, how they got started, and your roster of different things. So is there just give us an insight of the stuff that you worked on, the music, the project.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. One thing about me is I will make a way out of no way. So when I got that message that David Foster had given me a compliment via someone, I took it and ran with it. And I said, you know what, Crystal, you're giving up so much in the States. You got to make something here. So when I needed an extra job, I walked into this dance studio. It had said that they were looking for a hip hop dance teacher. And I said, I'm a hip hop dance teacher. Dance classes. I was taking like Missy Elliott's choreography, learning it at home and teaching it. And I ended up keeping that job for 2 years. And
look at you.
Yes. This Travis said I had rhythm. Actual dance friends here, especially like my one from Alvin Ailey, you'll know who you are. They love to pull that story out we just have the biggest laugh because I said, you know what? Whatever I do, I'm going to do with confidence. So from there, like I said, I released an album, traveled the world. That was amazing. Did several festivals in Thailand, Vietnam. From there, I started meeting people that were in the film industry here. So I worked on a lot of French movies, and that was fun. That was an amazing experience when you get to compose and hear your music in the cinema. Yeah. And from there, TV shows, sometimes I did coaching. I did the awards ceremony that's called the César Awards. So I had to coach some really big actors because they wanted an opening Broadway number. It's kind of like the French Oscars, but yeah, they wanted a Broadway show, style. And so that was incredible. And from there, I got called to do several other projects. I co-created with one of my favorite people that I consider to be a brother from another mother, Jua Amir, who came here with The Lion King. He's from New York. Together we created a 100-person choir called Singing Earth Divine, and it's open to all. It's a gospel choir, but it's open to all. We have gospel. Jua is from musical theater, so we incorporate some musical theater, and we write our own songs as well. And we reached the ears and eyes of Carnegie Hall, so we performed there twice. So we took 70 Frenchies wandering around Central Park and sang at the Carnegie Hall twice. What else have I done? I've done a lot of voiceovers for the past 15 years. So commercials in French, commercials in English, a lot of French products, but I say them with an American accent, like Moet and Chandon, stuff like that. And most recently, the Mufasa French version.
Yeah,
Um,
I heard
some
that.
songs for that. A couple other movies that I did recently that I can't say until they come out, but the French versions. And yeah, I did a kids album when my children were born. I had to come off from touring, but I was like, I'm not giving up my love of music. Um, and so I did a kids album, and I started a program that's called Chez Cristal, and it's learning English through song, through theater, through physical expression and stuff like that. And so I needed some children background singers. So I said, "Hey, come on, boys."
Put them
They
to
will
work.
exactly. I was like, "Come on!" And so they crack up now because they did the background voices when they were 3 or 4, and now they'll be 12 in a week. And so it's every day is different. Every day is completely different, and that's what I love about what I do. But it was not always easy those first 5 years. I'd say
Mhm.
I ate a lot of macaroni and cheese, the French version, and good thing the coffee is cheap here. I drank a lot of coffee, but it paid off, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, Wall Street is something I could have done, although my then boss told me that I was way too creative and way too smiley at the time and to tone it down. And I was like, that's another sign that I should not be in here, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, I've been lucky to tour with a lot of French artists as well, either as a background singer or as a guest. I've worked a lot in London with an artist named HKB Finn, who does world music. Yeah, again, it just really depends.
Yeah, like I said, your catalog of stuff is endless. I was just like to prep a little bit. I was watching a whole bunch of your performances and I was just like,
Oh,
there was one particular one that I really liked that I wrote it down the where was it at? At the Electro Deluxe Live.
yeah.
That one was really, really good. I love that one. And that's one
Well,
of my favorites that I saw.
I love them. Well, see, those electric, we're all old together now. So what happened was I had released my album. This is like 20 something years ago here, and they were looking for a singer. And again, I auditioned again in somebody's basement, and I got it. But they later told me they're like, it was just two of you. I don't know. Things happen in twos. I'm always against one girl. And I toured with them for a good 2 years. And then they found their true calling and had a singer. They have a singer named James Copley. He's from America. He is hilarious. He's like, oh, he just brings me home. I love singing with him when I can because he's funny. He reminds me of America. We have all the same references, and so yeah, I started with them, and they have won what's called Les Victoires de la Musique Jazz. So it's like the jazz Grammy Awards here. And when we started, we were in somebody's Scooby Doo looking like van and had some baguette sandwiches and barely had a room, to sleep in. And now we just, they tour the world. They've done amazing things. And when I can, and the other girls, we just come with them. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
A lot of fun things there. As far as, I mean, we mentioned all the stuff that you have worked on. What are you currently working on right now?
Yeah. So now there's another movie that I'm working on. And I'm slowly starting to write music just for myself.
Oh,
That-
fun.
I know it took forever. It took forever. I have just notebooks and I'm very old school. I do not put it in the computer. I write everything down. I have 1,000 notebooks in there. But I pulled out some stuff that I'd worked on, you know, throughout the past, I'd say 10 years. And I said, this is actually good. And so I started working on other artists' albums. And then I started co-producing some of those albums. And they were like, you have some really, really nice ideas. And it just, I don't know, it started those creative juices again. So that's what I'm working on. And then, of course, we have the choir. I have a series of festivals coming up because it's jazz festival season.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do some with Electra Deluxe as well.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I love those guys. And that's it. I'm deciding this year, after all of this is done, to take some time for myself because I don't ever do that. I'm either running around after my children, and now that they're bigger, and this
Mhm.
is Paris, you know, so little kids, they go to school by themselves, they take the metro by themselves. But I was a helicopter mom, so I was like, okay, I need to talk to the baker lady. She needs to check in and tell me that she saw my children, you know, stuff like that. So now
Yeah.
that I'm past that phase and they're bigger, I'm gonna do some more stuff just for fun, just for myself, because I've not stopped working since Pop Stars, and I'm tired.
I know. You've been busy. You've been busy. Um,
Yeah.
you mentioned that TV is still one of your good friends to this
Yeah.
day. Have you kept in contact with any other contestants?
Mostly just TV and CJ, who I talk to on the regular. Every now and then, like I go and I see the other contestants' pages, and I'll leave little hearts or say, "Oh, I love this video that you posted." It hasn't gone beyond that. Yeah, yeah.
Alrighty, we have um you did mention a little bit earlier about the Singing Earth Divine. Do you
Mhm.
want to talk a little bit on that and let exactly people know what it is
Yeah,
and the upcoming shows or dates or
yeah, sure. For those of you who want to visit Paris, so Singing Your Divine is it's something that Jua, that I mentioned earlier, and I created over a huge salad on a Parisian rooftop one day 11 years ago. I think my kids were babies. And I had just come off of a huge tour with an artist named Michel Sardou, which is one of the top selling artists, older artists, of France. Beautiful tour, but I knew I couldn't go back to that life. And I know Jua at the time, he was looking for something different. And we talked it out over copious amounts of salad and red wine, because this is Paris. And we came up with this idea of possible workshops. And those workshops expanded to a full choir. And we went down the Champs-Elysees. We're like, where would be our ideal place to have this choir? And so, the American Cathedral of Paris, which was right in the 8th district, Champs-Elysees, so really, really swanky. So we walk in and go see? Yeah, let's walk in and go see. So we walked in and we met with the person that was then in charge of reservations. And he said, well, normally, we already have a choir, but it's linked to the actual church. But let's just see. And we were just see. And so he gave us this tiny room. And the first day we were really praying to have 15 people show up, 20 people. We had like 45 people. And so we knocked on Gilles' door. We're like, hey, you remember that room you said we couldn't have up there? You think we could have it? And then we had, just at that time, maybe 60, and it just grew to 100 people. And so, yeah, we got our name out there because while we have roots in gospel, it is not religious affiliated, and it is open to everybody. We've got everybody up in there, literally everybody, so much so that we've been interviewed several times on French TV, especially around elections, because we represent Paris. You've got everything. You've got students, you've got 85-year-olds, you've got, tree huggers, you've got people that swim with dolphins. I don't know, they have crazy stories. And that's actually a true story. But we also were known because we started creating these songs that French people could sing and could repeat. It was a very interactive experience when we gave our concerts. It wasn't just, you sit there and you watch somebody, not at all. Plus that kind of scares me. So we had people people of the government that were coming out. We got them to clap their hands on beat, which is no easy feat. We got people to just stand up and dance around the cathedral. A cathedral, they're dancing in a cathedral, and it was just a good time. And so when we got the call for Carnegie Hall, I was actually a little bit scared because I was like, this might be kind of big. But we went there, we had an amazing time the first time, then we went back a second time. And so, yeah, we always give 2 or 3 concerts a year. And we have our annual summer concert coming up on June 5th here in Paris. And we also have sister choirs in Provence and Avignon. And then we also go to Normandy. And we're also open to coming to a town near you. We are according to our choristers, we're much more than a choir because it's a place of refuge. It's a place where people come and they sit and they talk with us. My kids have grown up in the choir. You know, one was climbing up the Christmas tree at the cathedral. We're like, get out the Christmas tree! Don't embarrass Mama. You know, people have brought their husbands to sit and just observe. We've had people come and say, "Listen, my mom listened to you and loved your music. We're gonna play it at at her funeral." So we've made an impact in a much different way, and it's very, very telling, I think, and it really corresponds with our two personalities. You know, you got these really energetic, vibrant, out of the box Americans jumping around, bringing all the French people in on their craziness, having a good time, you know, trying to make people feel better. So that's what Singing Earth Divine is. It is very much us. And it is very much just, I don't know, it's a place of welcome for everybody, especially those people who don't feel welcomed anywhere, you know. So right here in Paris.
Lovely. I don't want to keep you. I know that you're a little bit at a different time zone. But
Yeah.
as far as where could people reach you to see your projects, plug all that stuff in so they could know?
Yes. So I'd say the quickest and easiest way to reach me is just the same way you did, Instagram, Crystal Petit, Petit, no E at the end, Petit. Crystal Petit. I'm also on Facebook. Yeah, those are the two easiest places. I literally, unfortunately, spend a lot of time on Instagram. It has been my place and source of joy in these times of turmoil. And yeah, you can usually find me on Instagram. I also wanted to add really quickly, one thing that we didn't touch on. I did not get a chance to see the show until
Oh, you didn't?
and I have never seen the full show. I've seen clips because I was already living in Paris when it aired. And so there was a little bit of a delay in the reaction of my family. My family called me crying. I was eliminated. Why are you crying? They're like, but it was just so sad. So they taped it and they sent some of the episodes to me, but I was already living in a different, literally, time zone. And I got to see things, you know, later on, sometimes maybe like 2 or 3 years later.
Oh, okay.
And I got, you know, I talked to a couple friends and they were giving me like play by play, and I talked to TV came immediately. She was here in Paris with me. We were salsa dancing like 2 weeks after, you know. So yeah, that was a crazy experience. And even thanks to you, I've been showing my sons some of the clips that you posted.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah, they just think it's hilarious. Look, you're so cute. But yeah, so I had a little bit of a different experience than the other girls because I wasn't in the country and they aired it after I was already living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I was an example, I was talking to Shonda and she told me that while the show was airing, she decided to go to LA to be in the area for as far as like exposure and work on other stuff.
Oh
You completely had a
wow.
different experience.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
you were gone.
I was gone. I was so gone. And I didn't even know until I started getting messages, emails at the time from people from my school, people from my town, like distant cousins I hadn't even talked to in forever, because they were following it episode by episode. So they had no clue how far I'd gone, except, you know, I did tell my cousin Stacy, you know, because we weren't supposed to really say anything, but I told Stacy because I was on the plane back, so she knew anyways. But yeah, so I lived it way after everybody else, and I was reassuring everybody. I was calming everybody else down. I was like, it's okay. They're like, how are you in France if you're on TV here? I was like, how am I?
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Um, I appreciate you for taking the time to do this with me. I have been
Great.
having a joy with these interviews, and it is so funny because I was 13 when the show came on, so
Oh
for me,
wow.
it's always like, oh my God, like it's Crystal. She was on TV. Like I always have that experience when I talk to any of the contestants. So
That's
again, thank you,
incredible.
thank you, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you for reaching out to
Of
me.
course, and I'm excited to see new music and
Yes.
this movie. You can tell us the music for that. So I'll be
Yeah.
looking. I'll be looking on your Instagram.
Yes, yes. I'll send you a personal note. It's out. It's out. So yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Well,
Um,
thank you. Um, and
Thank you. Are you gonna do something special with your day today? Your day off?
I am probably gonna just focus with school stuff. I'm in school right
Okay.
now too, so
Okay.
I'm going to school to get my HR credentials.
All right now.
So this class is gonna be over in 2 weeks. So I'm doing the final project, which is the group
Yeah.
project. I rather do things on my own, but
I'm the same.
yeah, it's like but no, just school stuff. That's about
Yeah.
it.
Well, good luck with that. At least you can do it, and not stress about it. You can do it on your own time today.
Yeah.
So, oh, well, thank you, my dear.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
Oh, well, you have a wonderful day. And my day is almost ending. I'm going to go in there and whip up something. And yeah, it's been lovely talking to you.
I know, it was really good. You have a great night.
All right, you too. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.